I'm thinking, come on to Hanson, we'll hire you, no questions asked. Not that there isn't a lot of good people in town, but some of the appointments they've made with some of these people that they've hired, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah.
Are there any activities or events that brought the community together on a regular basis?
I didn't get you.
Are there activities or events that brought the community together on a daily basis?
Well, finally, they're doing something. Thank God they are. Because when I was growing up, there were two families in this town, Mr. and Mrs. Brooks. Mrs. Brooks was Mr. Marcus Uran's daughter. And of course they were fairly well off. And so anyhow, between her and Charlie Mann, who was our state representative, he just passed away a couple of years ago, but his mother and father and Mr. and Mrs. Brooks did so much for the youth in this town. And this, when I was growing up, there was no Little League baseball. No. There was none of that kind of stuff. And so anyhow, at that time there were fields. Now all the fields have stopped growing and houses have grown into the fields. So we used to play ball or play football at whatever field we could find. But they were very instrumental in keeping the youth busy and stuff like that. But thank God the town has finally done something, like at Christmas time and one thing or another, down at the town hall. They'll have a get-together and stuff like that, which is wonderful, because before they never did a damn thing. You know?
Do you know any local legends, like at Camp Kawani or the mill?
The mill, the fellow that did the water wheel from the mill was a fellow by the name of Sawyer. He was blind. But he was blind, but he could see with his fingers that you could barely see with your eyes. He was a really talented guy. And he married Roseanne Dunham. And at that time, up on High Street, there was a doctor, Dr. Ingley was her name, a woman doctor. And anyhow, she was the doctor's secretary, and she married the Sawyer boy, and they lived over here where State Street and East Washington Street come together, and they lived there. And he was a talented guy. And Roseanne passed away here about 4 years ago, but I think he's still living. I don't know what they have for children or stuff like that, but he was the one that made the water wheel for the new Thomas Mill.
It's cool.
And at the time, the original Thomas Mill, all it was a stream that came from where the bogs are up by Main Street. There was a stream that came down to where the Thomas Mill is now, and what they did, they dammed it all up, and that's how they made Wampatuck Pond.
Really?
Yeah, you look at some of the old maps, and Wampatuck Pond wasn't there. There was a stream, and then they dammed everything up, and and of course, here where the Indian Head School is now, the Briggses over in Hanover, the one that have the horses over there.
I know.
They used to lead the horses on the road, and where the Indian Head School is now, it was just trees and just a field, and they used to bring the horses for the Campfire Girls. The Campfire Girls is where the highway department is now, and that area there, they had cabins and stuff like that for the campfire girls.
Yeah.
And then down the street on Indian Head Street was the Rainbow Camp, and the girls would come up to ride the horses up there. And then after all day long, or how long then the fellas would hitch up all the horses. They didn't have trailers then. They just drive them over the road. You know, hitch them all up and drive them over.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
crazy if that was
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
What's your favorite place in Hanson and why?
My favorite place in Hanson is where I'm living.
Good answer.
How has Hanson changed throughout your life?
Well, it's grown.
Yeah.
Where it's funny, when we first moved into town, Home Street, where it is now, isn't where it was. If you go up just a little bit further on Home Street, where I'll call it the Thomas House was, it's where Sean Keeley, who is the town moderator, lives now.
Yeah.
Instead of the town coming down the way it is now, it came around a little bit because they didn't have the equipment like the bulldozers they have now and one thing and another, and so they would go or find high ground rather than go through the swamps and stuff like that. And so, but the original street is still there.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably been bought out by whoever owns the property now.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. But like I say, when I was growing up, my older brother Bob, we had the paper route from High Street all the way down to Walkie's store on High Street.
Yeah.
We did that. And then when he went to high school, I took over the paper route. And I had it until I was going to trade school, and then my younger brother Paul took it over. So you went down the store, you knew everybody.
Yeah.
Now you go down to the store, you're lucky if you find one person
Yeah.
you know, because the town has grown.
Yeah.
And of course we have the supermarket down there now, down Shaw's. It used to be BPM, Brockton Public Market, and then they changed it to Shaw's for one reason or another. And so you have a shopping area there now. Yeah. And so, and of course, like you people, there's more new people coming in.
Always.
And a lot of the people back in the 70s, they had a lot of problems in Boston, and the colored people or black people or whatever you want to call them, they were raising holy hell in there, and they weren't even letting a lot of the people to bring in supply groceries and bread and milk.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, a lot of the white people left. And you take Gorwin Drive and all the roads off of Gorwin Drive, that I call it the white flight. When that opened, a lot of the people from Boston, Roxbury, and Dorchester, they moved into Hanson to get away from the violence that was up there now. Now you go to Brockton, and when I was a kid,